the Centre for Water Research. He believes climate change is actually happening and is inevitable. What do you base that on?
Well, I guess the thing that's really happening is that there's certain feedbacks have set up. For instance, hurricanes put an enormous amount of CO2 into the atmosphere. The second thing is the inertia of industry, and if you look at the consumption patterns of CO2 and so forth, they're going up very rapidly, and it's almost impossible to change. So the combination of positive feedbacks and our inability to respond makes climate change inevitable. And what people should really do is to get ready for climate change. And there are a number of things. But again, we suffer from a number of misconceptions there. One is that, like climate change is in the supermarket now, I can buy it or I don't buy it, whatever it is. And that there are some technical fixes. And as you saw on your program also, that all we need to do is think. Setting targets really doesn't work in a situation where the society can't really respond. And secondly, where the response of the climate itself is so much faster than we can respond. So setting targets is not the way to go.
So the protesters that are at Heathrow Airport right now and are demonstrating against the airport expansion, are they not on the right track at all?
Well, I think you have to, they're being overly optimistic, I think, if they think that you can change something. The bigger thing, you have to put it into context. I mean, mankind was sort of built 1 million years ago when climate was varying over 100,000 years. So the whole genetic inventory of that we have was built then. And then we spent the last 15,000 years from the last ice age to now building all our icons like religion, God, family, respect for order, and so forth. In the last 20 years, we spent all our time dismantling those icons. And while I certainly don't make a moral judgment whether they're good or bad, the point is we haven't replaced them with anything. So what we've replaced it with is a total addiction to consumption. And so we're not able to respond anymore now.
So what you're saying is climate change is inevitable no matter what we do as individuals. What we've now got to do is actually start seeing how we can cope best with it. Is that basically it? And how do we do that? Is there not a simple answer, of course, but
well, again,
where do we start?
Yeah, we certainly don't start building dikes and so forth. We start looking at the more deeper picture, like the forced migration that's going to happen due to climate change is going to wreak havoc with a whole bunch of cultural mixing and so forth. So the mobility of people, the mobility of diseases, and the dissection or separation of the rich and the poor, because the rich can build themselves a Noah's Ark, but the poor, of course, can't. So what we should really do is look at the basic structure of society. One is we spend a huge amount of money on paranoia, the military, justice, terrorism, and so forth. And yet there's very little on the news these days about why are we having these problems. And the reason why we're having it is not because we have different religious beliefs, but in my view it's more the poor and the rich, and the people who have a say and the people who can't have a say. The other thing you need to have a close look at, democracies are really not functioning the way they used to function because big corporations are now bigger than most countries, so they've taken over. So what we really need to do is look at the basic social structure and respond to that. And we need to build an arc which is fair to both the rich and the poor.
You need to have a plan, certainly. Professor Jürgen Berger, thank you very much indeed.